What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Weekly GCap, the only source you'll ever need to catch up on all the gaming news from the last week. As always, we got quite a couple stories to go through, so let's get right into it. First things first, the Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters were announced. This coming from the official Final Fantasy Twitter account. Quote, the Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters series launches on PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch at 8 a.m. Pacific on April 19th. Let me just say, I thought it was funny that they mentioned like the actual times the games will be releasing. Then they go on to ask, will you be reliving those adventures or experiencing them for the first time? So the Final Fantasy games that are getting remastered in this pack are Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I absolutely loved Final Fantasy 3 back in the day, but sadly, I haven't gotten to experience the other 5 Final Fantasy games in this collection, those being 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. However, to answer their question in the tweet, I will be experiencing those 5 for the first time, and I'll definitely be picking this up as soon as it releases. One thing I just wanted to mention real quick, Pokemon Stadium will be coming to Nintendo Switch Online on Wednesday, April 12th. I used to love Pokemon Stadium so much back in the day. I cannot tell you how many hours I put into that game. Unfortunately, I do not have a Switch, so I won't be able to download this game. However, if you do have a Switch, please do yourself a favor and download it. And heck, even if you have played it before, you might as well re-download it. If you've played it, you know how good it is. Next up, now this one's a little lengthy, so bear with me here, but the God of War Ragnarok New Game Plus update is out. This coming from PlayStation Blog. Quote, the God of War Ragnarok New Game Plus update is available now. To make sure you're ready to jump into the 9 realms, we've put together everything you need to know below. And like I said, this is a bit of a lengthy one, so please bear with me. Change the way you play, new equipment, and increased level cap, new enchantments, all this and more is introduced with God of War Ragnarok's New Game Plus mode. As soon as you've beaten the game, you'll be able to dive right into a New Game Plus save to experience the story again with many more gameplay options available from the start. Your equipment, weapons, including the Dropnir Spears, I think you say it, and skills will carry over from your previous save, so you'll be able to use your entire arsenal from the beginning of your journey. Please note that you will not start the game with access to Sonic and Hex arrows. All areas requiring either those areas or the Dropnir Spear to access will not unlock until you have reached the point in the main quest line in which they become available via the story, end quote. And then after that, it goes on to explain all the new changes and additions, which include armors, shields, cosmetics, level caps, overall enhancements, new progression paths, expanded areas, new endgame bosses, other enemy adjustments, black and white mode, the ability to skip cutscenes, and more. Are you sure this is just a New Game Plus update? Because this honestly just sounds like a whole DLC to me. Jokes aside, like I said, the update is out now, and it's free, so if you have God of War Ragnarok, you might as well dive in and try it out. This next story got me pretty excited, but a live-action Street Fighter movie was announced. This coming from the official Street Fighter Twitter account. Quote, a new live-action Street Fighter movie is in the works, co-produced by Legendary Entertainment and Capcom. More news to come in the future, hashtag Street Fighter, end quote. I used to love that animated Street Fighter movie back in the day, if y'all know the one that I'm talking about, so I'm super excited for this. I love Street Fighter to death, and words cannot describe how happy it makes me to see it just having like such a triumphant comeback this year between Street Fighter 6 releasing and then this new movie being announced. It makes me very excited to see what the next couple years holds for this franchise. Our next story is a little unfortunate. It's another game delay. I feel like we talk about at least 1 or 2 of these every single week, but this being Arc 2, and this coming from Arc's website. Quote, after careful consideration, we have decided to delay the sequel's launch to the end of 2024, when it will still launch exclusively on Xbox Game Pass and Windows distribution platforms, that being Steam/PC. We've put much thought into delaying Arc 2 for the betterment of the final product and the team's well-being. This news will be disappointing to many, we feel it too, but we're confident this heavy decision is the right one, end quote. As I always say when we talk about delays, cue that one quote, bad game forever bad, delayed game sometime it's gonna be good. This next story will definitely make the Switch players happy. Nintendo will be repairing JoyCons for free, or at least they'll be allowing that service to be used in more regions than before. So let me just go ahead and read this off. This coming from Nintendo Life. Quote, until further notice, Nintendo will not charge you in the European Economic Area, also known as the EEA, the UK, and Switzerland, for the repair of the responsiveness syndrome, irrespective of whether this is caused by a defect or by wear and tear. Then we skip down a bit further. This applies even if the syndrome is caused by wear and tear, and even if the 24-month manufacturer's warranty provided by Nintendo has expired, end quote. I love how they called it a responsiveness syndrome. Of all the names they could come up with for Joy-Con drift, a repair of the responsiveness syndrome. Anyway, this is obviously great news considering the failure rates of Joy-Cons. It's up there with like the red ring of death on the Xbox 360, but if any of you happen to be in those regions and you happen to have a busted Joy-Con, you can send them in and get them fixed free of charge, and I definitely recommend doing that as soon as possible because, again, it's free. For our next story, Capcom stock hits an all-time high. This coming from Circun Toto on Twitter. quote, "It's Monday noon in Japan where Capcom stock today hit 4,865 yen earlier in the morning, an all-time high for the company," end quote, which 4,865 yen is about $37.03 in USD. It honestly makes me really happy seeing Capcom have this comeback within the last couple years. I mean, they're genuinely one of my favorite companies in the gaming industry, on top of the fact that they own some of my favorite IPs in gaming, period. And thankfully, it seems like this success won't be slowing down for them anytime soon, with RE4 Remake doing as well it is, on top of a bunch of upcoming high-profile releases, not to mention the fact that a new Monster Hunter is due to be announced soon, so I'm sure this is only the beginning. Also, if anyone from Capcom happens to be listening, I would really appreciate it if we could please get a Dino Crisis sequel or remake, please. And for our next story, Konami opens a new studio. This coming from Video Games Chronicle, quote, "Konami has opened a new studio in Osaka. The new office aims to continue sustainable growth in the next 50 years. Konami has opened a new studio in Osaka, which it calls a major production center. Konami Osaka Studio is located at the Osagi Umeda Twin Tower South Business Center and will follow the mantra of creators first, according to Konami. The company says the new studio is characterized by a well-developed environment where creators can demonstrate their full potential and is set up in a location with convenient transportation access." It adds, "As the major production center in Western Japan, this facility is fully equipped with motion capture equipments and sound studios necessary for product development," end quote. Let me just say, yes. Just yes, okay? This is what I like to see. Konami has been sitting on so many amazing IPs that they have simply done nothing with in like almost a decade at this point outside of slot machines, and it's honestly been really sad to watch. However, with their recent projects like the Silent Hill 2 remake and other leaked projects we've been hearing about, this honestly makes me really happy and hopeful for the future of Konami, especially after this most recent report, which it shows to me that they are truly honing in on game development again and putting those IPs to good use, and who knows, we may even see new IPs come from this. I mean, I'm not getting my hopes up. I'm not saying we'd ever see a new IP come out from Konami that is on the level of, say, like a Metal Gear Solid or a Silent Hill or whatever, but could you imagine if they could manage to do that? We get like another landmark, brand new, fresh IP from Konami again? Like, that would be awesome. Regardless, no matter what ends up coming from this, I think we can all agree that anything is better than pachinko machines. Next up, Phil Harrison left Google. This coming from Eurogamer, quote, "Ex-Stadia head Phil Harrison departs Google following service's demise. Had been with the company since 2018, Phil Harrison has departed Google, where he served as vice president and general manager of Stadia. Following the beleaguered cloud gaming services demise earlier this year, Harrison joined Google in 2018 and shepherded Stadia through its high-profile, if increasingly problematic, launch in 2019, remaining on board during the service's slow, steady decline. It was Harrison who announced the closure of Stadia's internal game development studios in 2021 and ultimately shared word of the cloud gaming service's impending demise last September, admitting it hadn't gained the traction with users that we expected," end quote. And then from there, it just goes on to explain the downfall of Stadia up until it got shut down, and yeah, this, it honestly doesn't surprise me too much. This is obviously kind of sad considering that Stadia is something that the folks and developers over at Google must have, like, truly believed in and put tons and tons of hours into developing, but unfortunately, you know, it wasn't executed the best, and it's just another in a pile of many, and I do mean many, failed tech experiments. It's even more sad that at this point, I mean, we talked about it just a week or two ago here on the show, but all the technology that was used to make Stadia what it was, it has officially just kind of been thrown away or discarded, or, you know, there won't be any further uses for it. It's simply just, it's going away. I don't know, it just, something about that just really makes me sad, man. All that technology going to waste, it just, I don't know. I feel like there's something else that could have been used with it. It could have been sold off. I don't know. Anyways, all that being said, I wish this guy all the best. It seems like he's been bouncing around the gaming industry for a while now. He had something to do with, I don't know, some sort of launch software for the PS3, and then obviously he was heading Google Stadia, so who knows, we might hear about him again sometime soon. And for our next story, Star Wars Jedi Survivor previews are live. However, at this point, y'all know me, I don't ever watch previews or reviews on games that I'm highly anticipating. I just like going in as blind as possible. However, I still like to make you guys aware when these things are available so you can check them out for yourselves, and so far the reception seems to be very positive for this game, so that makes me really happy to hear, because this has been one of my most anticipated games of the year. Who am I kidding? This has literally been one of my most anticipated games, period, ever since I beat Fallen Order, however many years ago now that game came out. At this point, I honestly just can't wait to get my hands on this game when it releases on April 28th. Next up, I kind of like to break up the pace of the show, you know, after I hit you with story after story after story. I like to kind of slow it down and just kind of tell you guys about, like, some of the updates that are coming to subscription services such as Xbox Gold and Xbox Game Pass, PlayStation Plus Essentials, Extras, Premiums, all that. But anyway, we have the April Xbox games, both for Xbox Games with Gold and Xbox Game Pass. So the first one, Xbox Games with Gold, yeah, it's disappointing as ever. Out of Space Couch Edition and Peaky Blinders Master mastermind. I've never even heard of these games, and so far from what I've been seeing online, nobody else is really excited about these at all. It's no secret Xbox Games with Gold has just been a dud for however many years at this point. If anything, they should just take the money that they would use to get the licenses to make those games available in Xbox Games with Gold and, like, I don't know, just put that into bettering their Game Pass service even more. I don't know, just anything would be better than this. I mean, sure, it's free games, and I do like the concept of them kind of, like, putting random games on there so then people are more likely to try out, you know, more niche games or more indie games, but, like, come on, man. They haven't even tried to get a high-profile game on the Xbox Games with Gold thing in years. Well, at the very least, the Game Pass lineup seems to be faring a bit better, that being Loop Hero, which is available now, Iron Brigade, which is also available now, Ghostwire Tokyo on April 12th, NHL 23 on April 13th, and Minecraft Legends on April 18th, which is going to be a day one release. So yeah, at least the Game Pass games are good. I'm really excited for Minecraft Legends, by the way. I'm a huge sucker for Minecraft, anything Minecraft related. I remember back when Minecraft Dungeons first released, I basically no life that game until I had it beaten multiple times. Iron Brigade is also worth checking out. That's it's a pretty fun game from the 360 generation. Ghostwire Tokyo is also another really notable one. I absolutely love that game. So yeah, good lineup for Xbox Game Pass. Next up, the Mario movie reviews went live. Right now, this is sitting at a 48 on Metacritic. And let me just say, I had a feeling this would happen. You know, with such a beloved IP, you're gonna have the folks that absolutely adore it off of the name and IP alone, and others that will hate it for, you know, one reason or another. And that definitely seems to be the case here. At the time of me recording this, the Metacritic split is 14 positive, 13 mixed, and 8 negative. Personally, I don't really care about reviews or what the popular opinion is on things. I'm a grown adult. I choose and consume entertainment that interests me, and then I form my own opinions from there, as should all of you. I just say this because the internet has quite the tendency to needlessly bandwagon and hate on things when they haven't even seen or experienced it for themselves, but that's a whole conversation in itself, so I won't go into all of that right now. That being said, I've been heavily anticipating this movie since the moment it was announced, so I'll still be checking it out, and I'm beyond excited to see it. And for our next story, E3 was canceled. This coming from Kotaku, quote, E3 2023 canceled. This would have been the first in-person E3 since 2019 and was set to start on June 13th. E3 2023 has been canceled, as first reported by IGN. In a report published on March 30th, IGN said that two sources have confirmed with the outlet that the Entertainment Software Association, the organization behind E3, sent emails to ESA members announcing the cancellation. Reportedly, in these emails, the ESA said that while E3 is still a beloved event and brand, the upcoming 2023 Expo had simply not garnered the sustained interest necessary to execute it in a way that would showcase the size, strength, and impact of our industry. The email then ended with the ESA mentioning its continued commitment to advocacy work, end quote. And then later that same day, if we look at E3's official Twitter account, which this is actually still their most recent tweet, and they haven't posted anything since, quote, ReedPop and the Entertainment Software Association, aka the ESA, have announced that both the digital and physical events for E3 2023 are canceled, end quote. If you're a bit younger, then, you know, you won't understand why E3 is so important, or, you know, just how big of an event it was for old school gamers like me. This is a new show after all, so I'm not going to go into all the, you know, nitty gritty sad stuff, but it honestly does, you know, just, it makes me so sad seeing E3 where it's at now. This is an event that I look forward to each and every single year, and just seeing where it's at now, it really makes me sad, and it does have me questioning whether or not E3 will ever make a return, because, you know, they talk about it year after year, and even this year they've been talking about how, you know, this isn't the end for E3, there's going to be more events, but, you know, that's also what they said in years past, and then those ones ended up getting canceled, and now this one's getting canceled, so, you know, just, it really makes me wonder if E3, I mean, I think E3 does still have a place in the modern gaming scene. It's just that, you know, other companies and publishers and developers would rather not take part in E3 and would rather just, you know, host their own events, do their own live streams, do their own announcements. And, you know, it makes sense from their perspectives. I talked about this last week and the week before about how for these companies, it's obviously a lot cheaper and a lot more convenient for them to just do their own events, their own live streams, their own announcements, because, you know, to book a spot at E3, they got to schedule their announcements around E3, they got to pay all the money to get people out to E3, and then, you know, just to reserve a slot and time slot at E3 in the first place, and, you know, there's a lot that goes into it. And again, the fact that they have to wait until E3 to announce a game versus if they do their own live stream, their own announcements, their own events, they can announce the game whenever they want, they can do it for practically free outside of the cost to make trailers and all that. However, on a lighter note, you know, we still got Summer Games Fest to look forward to, and then obviously we got the Game Awards at the end of the year, so we still have two big events headed by Jeff Keighley for us to look forward to. And on top of that, you know, there's always all these publishers and companies that are hosting their own events, doing their own live streams, this, that, and the other. So don't look at it as E3 dying and going away, but rather it's just fragmenting a bit. You know, the same companies will still be doing the showcases and reveals that they've been doing for decades at this point. It's just that it will be happening on these companies' terms and when they want to hold their own events rather than happening all at once during a couple of days like it used to when E3 was still around. Don't get me wrong, like, I'm devastated that this is what things have come to for E3. This was something I looked forward to and anticipated so heavily every single year, like I said. But you guys know how I am. I like to look at things as optimistically as possible, and that's what I'm trying to do here. Fingers crossed that we could get, I don't know, just at least 1 or 2 more E3 events before it goes away for good. Just, you know, one big last great showcase, one big last great event. I don't know, just something just to go out with a bang. The way I see it, if you gotta go out in a blaze of glory. I would love to see one last big great event, or maybe just like one big last celebratory event that like doesn't even focus on announcements or anything like that, but rather just like, I don't know, recaps all the best moments from E3 over the last couple decades. I think that would be really nice. That would be an event that I would like to watch if E3 is to go away for good. I didn't want to end on a sad note, so I saved this one for last just so we could kind of end on like a goofy story, but April Fool's Day was a couple of days ago, and as always, some gaming companies had quite a field day with it. For example, a headset that squirts you with water from HyperX, a Razer brand mouse that you can shave with, a Tiger handheld with spikes on it from Blasphemous. If you guys remember the Tiger handheld, then you know what I'm talking about. But they essentially had one of those old school Tiger handhelds with like spikes all around it. It was absolutely hilarious. And then IGN posted a fake Nintendo Direct that announced that the Mario movie voice actors will be available to use as voiceovers in Mario games. Like, the list goes on. I'm sure I have one of the clips from one of the crazy announcements up on the screen by now, but you know, it was one heck of a day on the internet. I mean, as it is every year. I tend to just kind of stay off of social media on April Fool's Day if I'm gonna be honest, but I must admit that these April Fool's jokes from these gaming companies were really entertaining, and I mean, they are every year. For the most part, when it comes to gaming companies and the April Fool's jokes they pull, like, they're usually pretty funny. Some of them are actually kind of sad, because sometimes they announce something that fans have been waiting for a really long time, or they'll tease it, and then everybody remembers, oh, it's April Fool's Day, then it ends up being a joke, and then, you know, everybody's just actually more sad, if anything, afterwards. And sometimes gaming companies will use this as their opportunity to, like, announce something subliminally, so then if there's any, like, backlash, like, oh, thank God this is real, then they can play it off like, yeah, haha, we were just doing an April Fool's joke. But then if fans actually end up wanting it, then they can be like, hey, you know what, that actually wasn't an April Fool's joke, let's go ahead and do that. So, you know, it's like, it's a two-way thing. It can actually work in the favor or the detriment of gaming companies sometimes, depending on what it is. All in all, it was a pretty good April Fool's Day, and I'm glad that I followed the amount of gaming companies that I do, because let me tell you, man, April Fool's Day, I basically like 80% of the gaming companies that I follow, they had something to say on April Fool's Day on Twitter. It was great. But anyways, that's all the stories that I got for you guys this week. Now I definitely want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on the Mario movie? And are you excited for the new Street Fighter live action movie? Did you get fooled by any fake announcements on April Fool's Day? Will you be checking out Pokemon Stadium when it hits Nintendo Switch Online? Will you be playing God of War Ragnarok's New Game Plus update? And what are your thoughts on the whole E3 situation? Whatever you're thinking, I'd love to hear from you guys. But anyways, these episodes go up every single Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern, so if you want to catch them as soon as they go live, well, then now you know when to be here. But anyways, that's it for me. Thank you guys for watching. Have an amazing day and an amazing weekend. Stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.